Hello, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. I've got a few announcements to make in the beginning. This session is being recorded and will be available after the session. So for those who were invited, for those who attended, you will be receiving email afterwards with a link to the recording. As well, we will put it on our website. I've set this up to have people automatically placed on mute until we have the Q&A session. And at that time, I'd like to talk, products, the product itself, the features, any questions that you may have. We have quite a few attendees today, so I want to thank you for taking the time. My name is Chuck Stahl. I'm president of CNBS. And I have with me here J.P. Kroger, who's head of our product and delivery team. He's basically our resident expert, and he'll be the one doing the demonstration. First of all, a little bit about CNBS. So the way this webinar is going to flow is I will talk just a little bit about the company. I'll talk a little bit about the products and the features and the functions, but really what you're here to see is the product, and so we'll get right into that. Initially, CNBS. Basically, we're a next-generation SAP add-on software. So for those that have been around for a while, and I've been in the SAP market space for over 20 years now, the focus for 20 years literally has been on back office and back office efficiency. Well, today's companies have now moved to focus more on business building and e-commerce and how can the web help me. And that's where our focus is. We are here to help you get the most out of your SAP system and your SAP investment. So we are focused on this next generation SAP add-on software. We really specialize in three product areas right now. One is e-commerce, which you're going to hear about today. Second one is web AR, which is accounts receivable. And the third is mobility solutions. So from an e-commerce standpoint, we help you drive additional sales online. So we focus on selling and increasing sales, and in some cases lowering costs. On then the back end of that whole sales cycle, we have a product called Web AR, which connects your customers into your system, allowing them to more easily pay. So you reduce your days sales outstanding, and get your cash quicker. And then we've added a mobility solution framework that actually assists you in not only mobility solutions, but enhancements of the SAP platform as well as integration. And we'll talk about that in a later webinar. So as I mentioned, our focus is on add-on software. We are driving products that have high value, high rates of return. There are rapid implementation periods. So we're talking a couple of months as opposed to a couple of years. And something you'll hear me emphasize several times in this webinar, and that is this is real-time data. We have access directly to ECC data, so you'll see that there's no data syncing, there's no interfacing, there's no additional hardware required. It's built right on top of the SAP NetWeaver platform. Quickly, just want to touch upon our webinar series. Some of you may have attended the Web AR session that we had a couple of weeks ago on July 8th. I mention it here because it is available online on our website, so if you're interested, you can take a look at that. Obviously, you're here today watching our e-commerce solution, and then on August 12th, we have our Anostix framework, the new framework that I described earlier, on August 12th at 12:30 p.m. Eastern as well. There's a lot on this slide, but I want to go through it, not with a fine-tooth comb, and it's a little technical, but I think it's relevant and important for you to hear this, and that is our solution, as I mentioned before, it's 100% integrated into your ECC system. So there's no data syncing, no redundancy. We are built right on the SAP NetWeaver using ABAP, direct access to SAP ECC data. So there's you don't have the problem of redundant data. You've got pretty robust e-commerce functionality in addition to the fact that we do work so closely with SAP, we can take advantage of a bunch of SAP's functionality, like you've got multi-site, you've got multilingual, you've got multi-currency. We're fully mobile enabled, so we have responsive design. And you not only can handle B2B, but you can handle B2C as well. And we also have a hybrid mix of B2B and B2C where the catalog is available for those that are not business users so they can see where they may be interested in your products. And as I mentioned before, it's short implementation, which of course leads to a much more affordable solution. If you hadn't heard it before, since I mentioned it 3 times, it's one key differentiator is no interfaces, right? I've been in the IT world for over 30 years now, and one of the first principles I learned the first couple weeks on the job is that duplicate data is inherently bad because it gets out of sync. Well, that's where we come in, and our product is completely integrated into SAP. Sits right inside the ECC stack. And basically there's a picture of that as well, where we're in here, we're not out there. Here's just a sampling of our US-based customers. You may see some that you know. And there's a variety of implementations here. So some have the full suite, some have just the B2B, some have a hybrid B2B along with B2C, so they're in varying stages. But you can see there's some smaller companies here, and there's some very, very large companies here. And here's also a sampling of our global customers as well. A little bit about what our customers are saying. And one of the things that I like to say about the e-commerce solution is that you get a double benefit. So you create a presence online to sell your products. You can increase your sales that way. You can move more customers that are buying from you from buying manually or fax or calling on the phone and make it to where they go online and order. It makes it easier for them to order. So there's so many benefits here that it's kind of hard to describe, but I describe it as you kind of get a double benefit. You can increase revenue and lower costs at the same time. You can see here that Vera Bradley, their goal was to get 50% of their retailers in the online platform. They exceeded that. After year 1, they had 85% of the retailers using the solution. And in Pelican here, you can see, and you've all probably experienced this, where you've got an interfaced legacy web store that falls out of sync with your system, which leads essentially to lost orders. You have incorrect shipping information, incorrect pricing, and how frustrating that can be, right, for your customers, while they increase their online traffic 5-fold in 4 years by using our solution. And Schindler, they converted in the first 12 months 15% of their business to online sales. And Lennox, large customer, 50,000 customers integrated into their portal. And of course, I had to add IDEX here to brag a little bit because they really enjoyed working with our team. And we have very knowledgeable people that know our products. Just a little bit about the demands today. As I've mentioned before, in some cases, you're just looking for a B2B solution. In other cases, you might want to go B2B as well as B2C. We have many, many features in this product, so it's very robust, I think you'll find, and it allows you to leverage your SAP data and investment. So many of our customers have said, you know, I need an e-commerce solution, but I really don't want it separate from SAP. I really want it to work closely with SAP, and I described to them, well, this is kind of the next best thing to SAP. So there's flexibility in the functionality and design, so you can customize it as you need it, and you'll see that later in the demo. You'll see kind of the standard product, and then you'll see some of the finished product, if you will, that we've worked with our customers. We've got mobility covered. Again, short implementation time, lower cost, high return on the investment, literally state-of-the-art technology. This is a nice picture. It has a lot on it, but it just gives you a sampling or an idea of what's included in the product itself. So as I mentioned before, we've got B2B, we've got B2C. We also have a hybrid of those two that we can implement. We've got mobility covered. It's completely integrated, as I mentioned, in SAP. You can put up multiple shops. And when you look down at the list below, you might be surprised to see Variant Configurator listed there. We can handle that. You've got some automated cross-selling and upselling that if a human being is handling, they may forget. They may not completely understand the product set. That can be set up so that as people are ordering, you might increase your sales. There's a nice solar search. that you can implement. There's SAP pricing. You can have pricing by customer. Again, very, very robust. If you can do it in SAP, we pretty much can do it in this tool. Pre-built, mobile ready. So I don't know if JP is going to show that exactly, or not, but essentially it adjusts to your screen. So that's all handled, and we're seeing that more and more as an important aspect of people's websites, because more and more ordering and more interaction is happening via tablets and cell phones. And of course, no solution would be complete without social media integration. As you can see, these tools are, this tool is integrated with social media. You can also do live chat and connect that into the system as well. So again, very robust. Right now, I just want to take 2 seconds just to mention our WebAR solution, because WebAR, again, collecting and getting your customers to pay you sooner reduces your day sales outstanding, increases your cash flow. You know, what's not to like about that? This is a solution that we've built. It's built on and connected to the Paymetric solution, so it's completely PCI compliant via Paymetric client tokenization. This is also built on the WECO foundation. So anybody who's interested in learning more about that, we can set up a separate discussion to go over that. With that said, I'm going to hand control over to JP and allow him to begin the demonstration. Let's go. Hold on one second.
Okay, thanks Chuck for the introduction. Again, my name is JP Kroger, and I lead the operations and implementation team here at CNBS. Very happy to have everybody online, and delighted to be able to show you the e-commerce solution. So today we're going to take a walk through the basic functionality of the out-of-the-box e-commerce solution. So what you'll be seeing here today is basically the application loaded up with data, sample data, and content, but the look and feel is what is delivered out of the box. At the end of that, we're going to jump over and take a look at a client site and just give an idea of what the B2C looks like and what one of our implementations looks like, so that you can have an idea of some of the customizations that have happened. And then after that, we'll open it up for questions. So, as Chuck has said, the application is installed directly into the ECC environment. So what we're seeing here is directly the data that's served up from SAP in real time. The topics that we're going to cover today are going to be the product catalog, which is really the heart of the application, and what the significance of that is. We'll run an order through and actually see the order processing and talk about some of the features that are available there. Just want to touch on briefly that in the latest version, they finally have included also the service notifications. And then we also want to talk a little bit about the transactional data, because this is also an important piece that gives the users access to their history within the SAP environment. So with that said, let's talk about product catalog. So what you're seeing here, again, as I mentioned, is really the heart of the application with the product catalog. One of the key features with this is that we can integrate this with external content. So the images that you see, some of the text elements, we can link to a CMS system, to anything that can be served up via an HTTP process. We can grab that and integrate that into the product catalog. This allows structuring your product offerings the way that you want, in a way that makes sense to your users. If you look on the left side here, we have the standard tree navigation, which allows users to select if they're familiar with particular categories, and then you also have graphical navigation. The tendency, even on the B2B side, is really moving more towards a B2C look and feel. So this particular example, we have a lot of products and items that may be more geared towards the B2C environment, but in this case, we are still doing the B2B application. At this point, I've already logged into the system, but just so that you have an understanding, the web user who logs in is actually linked to their customer account within SAP. So when they are actually working with the application, all transactions, pricing, etc., are actually driven from their account in the system. All order history is going to pull from their account. Any orders that they place will drive to their account as well. So let's take a look at some of the examples on how robust we can get with the particular catalog. As you can see here, one of the key features is that you have the ability to actually have searchable attributes so that users can filter based on a number of criteria, and this is really up to you to define. These can be attributes that exist on a material master. They can be on another aspect of a material, say from customer material info record, and actually pull that information in and make that searchable. The catalog is actually a published catalog, and the technology uses something called an advanced memory controller, which takes this content and publishes it out to the NetWeaver, to the web server, and then what happens with that is it's less taxing on the ECC system. It's only when the user starts to transact that it will start making calls back to the ECC system to bring in that real-time data. Otherwise, if the user is just browsing and viewing catalog content, they're really running that on the NetWeaver portion of that. So let's dig in a little bit and look at some of the categories and see. Bear with me one moment. I'll drive into this. My apologies. And let's take a look at some of the product details and see what we have here. So we've actually drilled in, and we're at a list level now under the television category. And we can see here that we have the materials listed. We're actually pulling in pricing from that. In this particular case, this could be customer-specific pricing. You do have the option if you want to publish list pricing and have that be the driver. But this is going to run essentially a sales order simulation in the background and pull pricing however you have that set up in your system. As you see here, we have on the right side, we have a number of attributes that are available, and these are just for demonstration purposes, but we have the SAP material number. There may be other attributes that you have as well that you want to pull in. Manufacturer, you have some dimensional attributes, really could be anything. In addition, some of the basic functionality that you get out of the catalog is if you'd like the users to be able to do product comparison, or if they'd like to add to a wish list. In this particular case, we're using the European distinction for this, which is called a leaflet, but this is essentially a wish list functionality. Let's take a look at some of the details of the product detail page, and you can see some of the richness that you can get when actually looking at the images and the content that's available. So if we see here, we can do a number of images so that if you have a very detailed product and want to show different aspects of that, can certainly bring that up and then take a look at a number of the images here, whether front, back, side, etc., so the user can get better information from that. They have the ability to link in product videos, data sheets. You have the ability to send this as a recommendation to another user. If it's something that a colleague or somebody needs, then certainly that can be, this integrates and allows emailing links to these. This is SEO enabled, so here we have in the browser you can see that we actually have friendly URLs, and and this works well, especially with if you're using tools like Google Analytics and you want to get some metrics on your users, then you have the ability to enable SEO, search engine optimization for this, and actually then incorporate Google Analytics to do some analysis. We see here as well, we've got product codes that are available, any other types of information that you want to display. All of these things can be pulled from a CMS system. They do not need to reside in the SAP platform, and so that's where we can easily integrate that content. As well, then you can start to get into some additional product descriptions, have information on technical data, and all of this is customizable according to your needs. This can be HTML content, which marketing can control. So the way that you want to lay this out certainly is up to you. In addition, then, as Chuck had mentioned on some of the features, you have the ability to do cross-selling, upselling, related materials, spare parts. So on some of these, if you have a more complex item, say an item that's a configurable item, you could have the main item here, and then you could have a list of spare parts that are available to display as well, and those parts could be purchased separately rather than the entire component. I did want to touch on the topic of the variant configuration because that's usually a big topic for this. Out of the box, the software supports variant configuration, and so in those cases, we simply take the classes and the characteristics that you've already worked to configure in your system, and we can assign those into the product catalog and actually display and have users work with those as well, even have pricing that works with your variant configuration. So different options that are chosen may drive different prices, and so that's definitely a possibility as well. So within this, you have very rich content, CMS integration, and all types of additional information that you can have related to your products. So let's talk a little bit about what happens then when it comes time to transact and the user says, okay, I'm ready, I want to go ahead and purchase this particular item. They go ahead and add it to their basket. At the top, we see now that we've got a sales order or purchase order that's ready to go, and we can start to work with this. Before I jump into that, I just want to mention is the catalog is not the only way that people can place orders within the system. We do have the basket menu, and right now we have an active order, but we can actually configure this so that they can come in and create an order directly if they happen to know their material numbers, whatever that might be, they can go ahead and order in that fashion as well. So let's jump in and take a look at the order because we can talk about that a little bit more. So now we've got the standard shopping basket. And here, again, one of the key integration points when we're talking about being in the ECC environment, real-time data, is we're pulling directly from the partners that are available off of the customer master. They have the ability to do drop shipments if they want and override the delivery address. We've got price analysis, so those of you who may be familiar with the order-to-cash processes and are able to look at price analysis within the VA01 or 2 transaction. See, we have here the ability to display the different pricing conditions, if there are discounts available, or if there's freight, whatever the need is, that type of pricing can be displayed here. All of these elements are driven through configuration, so if there's a need to hide those types of elements, certainly that could be done. What I do want to talk about here is the ease in which you can make ordering possible for your users. So as you can see in the middle of the screen here, we've got a product upload link, which allows users, if they have, say, for example, just a text file of SAP material numbers and quantities, they can simply load those into the system. They don't need to use the catalog. They don't need to enter items in individually. This is really great for those type of customers who may have 100 items that they order on a periodic basis, or even a one-off. They can use that. Okay. And at this point, we basically, we've got some header information here as well. When the user is ready to go, they can download this if they want to and use that for other purposes. And let's go ahead and continue with the checkout process. One last thing I'll mention on this page, we do have something called Save as Template. So this is another feature that allows reordering. So if a user comes in, populates their basket, and it's something that they want to be able to order frequently, they can actually save this item as a template and then call that template up and simply replace the order again. So from catalog to a basket to upload to templates, you have a number of ways that users can place orders that's the most efficient for them. So you're giving them a lot of flexibility. The basket also has search integrated in with this, so that if the users want to find a particular item, they can activate that, start to type something, and then trigger a search to find additional items within the catalog, and they can go ahead and add those additional items to the basket as well. So a very powerful feature here. We'll go ahead and remove this and proceed with our checkout process. Now at this point, we do have the ability to integrate on the delivery side with some of the major freight shopping or freight handling, say for example, Process Weaver or Ship ERP. We have also linked in web services with some of the major carriers. For example, UPS and FedEx, they offer, and any of the major carriers, if they've got an online web service for getting freight rates, we can certainly link to those and replace these options with those as well. Then when we get into payment methods, you can simply have customers who are invoiced. They can pay by credit card. On the credit card options, we do have solutions that are pre-built with some of the major providers, and we have that ability as well. So users will select their option. For this, I'm just going to take the standard and invoice and continue on and go ahead and process my order. So at this point, what's happening then, this order is created real-time in SAP. So right now the order exists in SAP, and it will continue the follow-on processes for your normal way that your orders are handled in the system. So that's, in essence, the ordering process. You've got a robust, rich catalog. You've got a basket capability that links to pricing, ATP, whatever it is that you want to link out of your SAP system. Let's talk a little bit about the transactional data then. So not only do users then have the ability to place orders, but out of the box they can come and actually view their orders within the system. This is really up to you. We can set this up to expose whatever types of documents that you have within the order-to-cash process that you want to have available. So in this case, I talked about templates. If they had if users like to use templates, they can come in and call those up and order from those. They can bring up previous quotes, contracts, orders, deliveries, invoices. If you have multiple types of invoices, maybe you've got commercial invoices for international, the standard invoices out of SAP, all of those can be brought in and available to the user. Let's take a little bit of a look at the transactional data that's available then. In this case, it's a very simple search screen. We can actually go and search on orders based on status. We've got different date periods. These are the predefined date periods. If I want to find my orders within the last 30 days, I can customize that and choose a specific date range. Maybe I know orders that were created on a specific date and I want to see those. In addition, then we can also search under a number of characteristics. Maybe it's a PO number, document number, material number, and provide that. If a user is linked to multiple accounts in your system, you may have clients or customers who have multiple locations that you're servicing. Certainly then they can come in and actually decide which account they want to work with and consolidate their search based on those accounts. In this case, my customer or my user is linked to 2 different accounts in the system, but for now we'll just have them search under the one account. We run this, and then we are brought into the search history. So what's interesting for this then is I talked about the flexibility for ordering. Users do have the ability to go ahead and then place an order again from order history by clicking the basket icon at this document level. We're at a document level here, not at an item level. They can reorder the entire order that they had in their history. Alternatively, if there's only a few items on there, they can simply go into that particular order and they can reorder individually if needed. Also have the ability based on status if you want to allow them to change their order up to a certain period. Typically this is going to follow SAP rules so that once delivered, this option would disappear. But what's nice is, again, they get the complete detail of their order history down to an item level. Another key feature of this, again, just through simple configuration, we're actually able to link and view order confirmations for each document type. If you've got a SAP script form or a smart form that's linked to your document type, in the case of a sales order, you probably have an order confirmation. We can actually link to that and display that information. It will run and then download that particular one as a PDF. We can go ahead and open that and take a look at it. And this is going to leverage the work that you've already done. You don't need to design a new form just for the web presence. We grab the output that's associated with your sales order and go ahead and display that. So again, that's going to be available for all of the document types. If you've got bill of lading or packing list on deliveries, or you've got invoice output on your invoices, we can link that just through configuration and display that. You'll notice also, like in the catalog and in the basket, and as well here in document history, we have the ability to do an Excel download and actually allow the users to save their order history. So once again, just as a quick review, all of this stuff is available via the standard functionality. One last thing that I do want to point out with this one, let's do a little bit of a wide open search to see if we can find some results here, is as we go into this and we take a look, here we are in the delivery search. If I go into this particular one, we'll see here I'm in a delivery, and under reference document, I have 2 documents here. One is the sales order, the other is the invoice. So in this case, SAP document flow is completely integrated into the e-commerce solution out of the box. This requires no additional programming or development on our part. If those are there, then we can make them available. So that is the basic B2B functionality. There's a lot more that we can go into as far as account management, where users can update their personal information as far as their contact information. That's specifically to them as a web user. We're not updating any customer master data in the system. Also, if we happen to be linked with, if they have opted for credit card management, they can also manage payment methods, etc., adding a credit card account or e-check account. This happens to be, if they're using the WebAR software, that can be completely integrated as well. So that's a high-level overview of the solution. There's obviously a lot more detail that we can go in, and we would encourage anyone with questions to reach out, and we can always arrange a more in-depth technical demo. What I'd like to do at this point is to just jump over to one of the live customer sites, and this is a B2C site so that you get an example of what it looks like when you take the out-of-the-box and actually work with the client. So here what we have is one of the clients. Marketing has really gotten control of the main page, and they can do all of the types of promotion that they would like to do on the main page. And then we can start to go in and do the shopping as we see. Now things are starting to look familiar again, like we saw with the out-of-the-box. We've got our catalog here with navigation. We can drill in and start to do ordering. You have the attribute searches here, but now we've adopted the look and feel, the content, the products, all of the things for this particular live site. And as we go in, you can see here now that we're starting to get a lot of information. This one is nice because you can start to see this is pulling information from the material master and from other sources, case count, pack size, product number, the weight. All of this is coming real time from SAP. Then we can go ahead and order in the same fashion, and we see we've got an active cart here, and we can go ahead and process the order. This is a case where on this particular implementation where we've integrated with the UPS web service. This is the option that they chose. Had they chosen to use additional services, then those would be showing as well. And we actually have an implementation underway that's offering probably half a dozen different options for freight shopping. And then again, as I mentioned, we do have credit card integration. In this particular implementation, this is integrated with the Paymetrics solution. So this is completely PCI compliant. This is running in a frame that connects to the Paymetrics servers. So this allows tokenization of credit cards, and none of that data is actually touching your SAP system. And the ordering process is fairly similar to what you would see with the B2B site. If we take a step back, you can see we have the shopping cart. We can integrate promo codes. You see here, you've got the item price, the freight price, any relevant tax conditions, etc. So this is a pretty good example of a live site. Again, we also have order history for my account here. I actually haven't placed any orders, but if I had, then I would actually be able to see those as well. But on this one, for demonstration purposes, I don't have any order history. So overall, that is a nice example of the look and feel of one of our clients. I think at this point, what we'd like to do is turn this back over to Chuck and to the participants, and then we'll open it up for questions.
Yes, I'm going to go ahead and unmute everyone so that people can ask questions.
Okay.
So I've unmuted. I've unmuted everyone, so does anyone have any questions?
Can you hear?
Well, we have a question. Where is the content, like the images, stored?
Okay, so this is JP. So each client has their own way of doing this. But typically, what the recommended solution is, you don't want to house these images within SAP. So in nearly all implementations, what you're going to see is images hosted on the web server and reachable via the HTTP process.
Yeah. Is it?
I'm sorry, just one quick moment. We're having a little bit of background noise. If you're not going to ask any questions, if you could go on mute, that would be very helpful so that we can hear everyone completely. Thank you. Go ahead with your question.
Because it looks like people are actually logging into SAP. Do you need separate user accounts for each customer?
Yeah, so what will happen is on the B2B side, it is the web user is linked to the customer master in the system. So there is a registration process, and there's a number of ways that can be handled. You can either go ahead and preload users, for example, a pilot group, and give them access, or you can launch the site and invite your users to go ahead and submit a registration request, which is processed internally to link them to their customer account. So in essence, yes, each user has their own login, and that's linked to their account within SAP.
So to just kind of add on to that, how is SAP licensed then for those users?
So that's a great question. Thank you. So this does not impact your licensing because in between the web user, so the web user record is actually stored within the WECO software. So that's just some basic credentials, their username, their password, etc. In between, what actually gives that is what we call a reference user, and that's actually a service user. So you create a service user in the system that doesn't impact your licensing, and you link that user to this reference user, and that controls what they can actually see on the screen. So in that case, you're not having to give a separate user license for everyone who comes to use your e-commerce solution.
Okay.
And just to elaborate on that, there is technically an RFC user, which actually has the authorization to post and actually execute the transactions, and again, that's the service user. So no additional licenses required. Any additional questions?
Hello?
Yes?
Yes, do you have a question?
No, it's just it got nicely quiet. It sounded like somebody was moving their office.
Yeah, it happens with these. Sometimes you might get some of that noise, especially in a Q&A session.
Okay, with that, I just want to remind everyone that we'll be receiving a link to the recording of this. Thank you all for listening, and I appreciate your time.
Great. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.